Hi guys, it's me, ChazzaHD F1, and this is F1 YouTubers Decoded.
Hi everyone and welcome to F1 YouTubers Decoded. My name is Jordan and in the first episode we'll be talking to ChazzaHD to get to know more about him. Chazza has been on YouTube since 2016 and quickly got recognised for his straight up and honest opinion about the world of Formula 1. We'll be discussing why he started YouTube and his emotions when his old channel got shut down. We'll also be discussing his personal interests outside of YouTube and find out where he wants to be in the future. It was an absolute pleasure to do this interview with him and I hope you enjoy it just as much as I did. So thank you very much for joining us today, Chazza. Pleasure that you're doing this interview with us. How are you feeling before... well, this is just a random question, just to kick things off. How are you feeling? How are you? How's Chazza?
I'm good. We're recording this, of course, just after the Japanese Grand Prix, a very chaotic weekend. I am still a bit knackered. My voice hasn't quite recovered from doing 4 videos in 8 hours, which is a bit mental.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm feeling great.
Brilliant. That's good. Yes, I'm still a bit tired as well from that, and I'm coming down with the flu just a little bit. You know when it's first starting out, the horrible phase.
Yeah.
So I think we should really start off with the sport that, well, you know, what my channel's about, sorry, our channel's about, that your channel's about, and why everyone's watching this, Formula 1. So how did you get into the sport originally? Like, did your dad watch it, or did you just kind of discover it out of the blue?
It was kind of out of the blue, but kind of not. So basically, before I got into Formula 1, which was 2011,
Yeah.
I was, and I still am, a big Top Gear fan. And of course, they would do the occasional piece on Formula 1 or
Yeah.
motorsport. So I was already into the motorsport type world. And then in terms of coming across Formula 1 and watching the races on a consistent basis, it was really out of the blue in terms of that, because basically one, I guess, late night, early morning, I just couldn't sleep. And then I was scrolling the TV channels and I saw the 2011 Japanese Grand Prix on BBC One. And I watched it and it was a great race. And then if anyone remembers that race, it is, of course, the race where Vettel won his second world title. And yeah, it was a great race, great battles. And ever since then, and I think I might have missed a couple races at the end of 2011 because the season had kind of ended in terms of the World Championship. But as soon as 2012 started, I was straight in, and the rest is history.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, that's probably the best season to start off with, isn't it? Well,
Yeah.
2012. I mean, what a season it was. It was absolutely phenomenal. So, have you attended any races? And if you haven't, or if you have, is there any races where you dream attending of, where like it's on your bucket list for something to do in life?
Well, what I've attended so far, so 2014 Spanish Grand Prix, the entire weekend. It wasn't the greatest weekend in terms of the racing in the Formula 1 on the Sunday. That race I'll remember as the biggest clear sign of domination by one team I've ever seen. Hamilton and Rosberg, of course, at the front for Mercedes. They, I think, finished a minute clear of Ricciardo in third. So yeah, very, very dominant performance. But and also I attended, I'm sure plenty of people know if they follow my channel, I attended pre-season testing in 2019, the final 4 days. And I'm hoping to be going to testing in 2020, but hopefully for the entire of the first and second test. So that's a hope that I'll be doing, at the start of next year. But yeah, there are, tracks for F1 I want to go to. I have been to Silverstone, but for the WEC 6 Hours of Silverstone in 2018.
Yeah.
I would like to go there, though, for the Formula 1. Monza, of course, for obvious reasons. Spa. And then, yeah, for Europe, of course, because I am, in the UK, those are ones that I could actually get to. And before my life's over, then, I probably would like to go to a Suzuka if I could, because, the tracks are just so great and I'd love to see in person, the Formula 1 cars going around that track. But at the moment, realistically, what, track would I like to go to next for Formula 1? It'd probably have to be Silverstone at the moment.
Good choice. So the British Grand Prix, it's a brilliant race, brilliant weekend. If you, obviously you haven't been before, but it is highly recommended. Another one as well is the Italian Grand Prix. We've been there. Again, highly recommend that one. To see the Tifosi, it's something else. It really is. Like once that checker flag falls, immediately, well, not immediately, of course, but when all the cars are safely away in Parc Ferme, the gates open and it's just a sea of red. I've never seen anything like it. I've been to a few football matches in my time, and I've seen some good atmospheres, but that tops the lot. It's absolutely incredible. Just quickly as well on that you went to testing. That's something that not a lot of people will say that they've been to as well, and a lot of people would probably like to go there at some point. How did that come about for you to go to pre-season testing?
Well, I don't know if they're going to do this again next year. They should do it, considering the Spanish Grand Prix is, staying on the calendar for 2020. But what we did, because they had an offered deal, if you buy tickets to the Grand Prix in May, testing is free in terms of getting into the actual track. So yeah, it was kind of a lot easier to go to testing. If we had to spend money on both, then it would have been difficult. We didn't actually end up going to the Spanish Grand Prix in May because we couldn't sort out, travel arrangements and stuff like that in time. Because by the time we got back from testing, there was only 2 months to go to the Spanish Grand Prix, and I was busy, banging out content for the first few races, Australia, Bahrain, races like that. Yeah, I was really excited to go to testing, and it did fulfill my expectations. And I will say, I actually think if you take away the atmosphere that you get at a Grand Prix weekend, it's probably better than a Grand Prix weekend. Again, if you take out the atmosphere, because at a Grand Prix weekend, you'll know this, Jordan, that at Silverstone, you only get to see the cars for, 6.5 hours during the entire weekend? 7 hours? Something like that. In testing, on one day, you get to see more of the cars on one day than you do an entire Grand Prix weekend. And I was there for the final 4 days, so I got to see plenty of the cars. And if you do want to watch F1 cars in a bit more peace and quiet, but for longer, in person, then testing, you've got to go to it. And also, if you live in a cold country, in terms of it being, cold in February, great place to go, because when we went there, it was basically like summer in the UK in June or July. It was great weather and a great experience.
Oh, brilliant. So if anyone, if they are doing that deal, of course, then if anyone is going to the Spanish Grand Prix, get your tickets, go to pre-season testing. You don't really see the cars that much when you're at a Grand Prix weekend, but if I do ever get the opportunity to go to testing, I might just do that. So just moving away from Formula One, let's talk about YouTube. Because YouTube is it's a huge part of your life. It's a huge part of many people's lives who obviously do what we do. So what was the idea in starting your YouTube channel? Did you just kind of think, well, I've seen people do this before, I'm just going to do it? Or did you kind of watch a YouTuber and think, you know what, I like what he does, I'm going to do that? Like, what was your idea to start post on YouTube?
Well, I've had on YouTube about 3 channels. So one was called Chazza Gaming, I think, or Mr. Chazza Gaming, I can't remember the exact name, but that was not really a proper channel. It's just me uploading gameplay from, games like FIFA, GTA, games like that. And then I moved away from that and opened my second channel, ChazzaHD, the middle channel, of course, and that ran from winter testing 2016 to the mid part of 2018. When I started that channel, I was thinking, you know what, let's give, Formula One and talking about Formula One, the sport I love, a bit of a try. Did it for a couple months, then I fell out of interest with doing videos, and then I got back into it because I was uploading league races on my channel at that time during 2016, so I got back into it that way. And then I think it was around the Singapore Grand Prix of 2016, I started uploading F1 content, real life, content again. And ever since then, I've done it. And then, during 2016, I started to gain a few subs. And then in 2017 is when my channel really started to grow, because I was getting a lot of views on that old channel compared to the amount of subs I had. I mean, at times I didn't even have 1,000 subs and I was getting 20, 30k views. It was absolutely fantastic. And the highest viewed video I've ever had on this website came on that old channel in October. Late October 2017, where I analysed the Verstappen-Raikkonen at Kota, where Verstappen, of course, passed Raikkonen off the track, and that
Yeah.
got 210,000 views, I think.
My word.
Yeah, absolutely mental. And that week of views was absolutely mental, not just for me, but other F1 YouTubers as well at the time. And then, yeah, you know, complete the year, channel was growing nicely, got into 2018, views were still good. The reason that I got rid of the old channel was for a couple reasons. One, copyright issues. I had about 3 or 4 strikes on the channel from people who I still to this day don't know who they are and I don't know what they wanted. But yeah, I couldn't upload on the channel anyway. And also, there were things I wasn't happy with, such as my titles, my descriptions, the way I was doing my videos. I was just unhappy with the way I was doing my videos. And I thought the best thing to do would be to just do a complete new channel and start again with a proper new channel now that I've learned, you know, how YouTube works and stuff like that. And then, yeah, July 2018, I think July the 16th or 17th, 2018. That was my first proper video on the current channel, ChazzaHD F1. And yeah, it's been a roller coaster. Hit 1,000 subs after a couple months. End of the year, I had about 13 or 1,400. And then, yeah, this year, 2019, has been... It's been great so far. I will say, though, I really am hoping I can get to 10k at the end of 2019, which is the aim, because I think if I get to 10k, then the channel is really going to take off, hopefully, after that point. So hopefully I can get to that at the end of the year. But if you look at my views during 2019, it's been a great year, especially, you know, the watch-alongs and stuff like that. I mean, we've had watch-alongs consistently in the 30, 40k range, even watch-alongs higher than 50k, which for me, considering the size of my channel, is absolutely brilliant. But yeah, since I started the new channel, it, you know, has progressively got better and better.
Yeah.
And hopefully I will end the year, you know, successfully in terms of reaching my goal for 2019.
Brilliant. I mean, you've got, at time of recording, I think you've got 8.25k. It says on the YouTube, because I know that they've changed it, how subscribers are obviously, you know, verified or whatever, or however it's shown, however many you've got. So you got on 8.25k at time of recording. So obviously, if you haven't subscribed to Chaz's channel, go over, check it out. Links will be in the description. Get them to 10k before the end of the year. That will be a really, really good achievement. I just wanted to obviously just to start off as well about the whole, again, like you said, about the channel was copyrighted strike, your old channel. Your last video on there was your FP3 review in Austria. And then after that, you came out and said, look, this is what's happened to my channel. How annoyed were you to find out that your channel had been copyright striked, when I can imagine that it was for all the wrong reasons? I think I watched the video where you didn't say, obviously, I'd imagine that you weren't impressed, but just like how frustrated was it just to go, right, your channel is now gone. Well, it's not gone, but you're going to lose it at that point because of copyright.
Yeah, it was very, very annoying. I was very angry that day. What I did was I uploaded the practice 3 and review, and then obviously what I did at the time was then, you know, a couple hours later qualifying, I'll do a review for that, and then later on, at that time, I'd then do a live stream late that night at like 8, 9 p.m. UK time for a discussion basically about qualifying going into the race. And yeah, as soon as I uploaded my practice 3 review, within 30 minutes, I got 2 copyright strikes on videos that weren't even on that video. It was just basically these 2 people, I'm not going to name them, but these 2 people that were just copywriting videos. I think I know what it was. I can't know for sure, though, but to be honest, it was building up, you know, the copyright strikes I had. I think my first strike was in April of 2018. And I don't think it wasn't from FOM. FOM don't, have never given me a copyright strike. They're giving me copyright claims, but not a copyright strike. But it was building up, and then, yeah, it was kind of a culmination event at the end of June. And yeah, I just sat there and thought, after a few hours after the copyright strikes were happening, before I did an announcement stream, I just sat there and thought, you know what, it's over. We're going to have to start a new channel. And this time, make sure that my content is, you know, completely safe from copyright, stuff like that, because clearly, you know, fair use is abused on this website. You can, you know, make a video that is clearly fair use, but it's not going to be seen as that by the people who copyright, the companies and other people. So decided to, make my new channel, make sure it was safe from copyright, and just, make it completely different and a better channel than what the old one was. But yeah, I was so angry and disappointed because the end of year target for 2018 was 10k. And I was getting there. I was at 5.5k, I think, by the end of June 2018. And if I had continued with that channel and maybe had, started doing the content I do now on that channel, I think I'd be at probably at least 15k by now, maybe even 20.
Yeah.
So it kind of stunted my growth for a year and a half. But I've still got a long way to go to get numbers like that. So I'm not too disappointed about it, but it was a bit of a shame at the time for sure.
Oh yeah, I think it would have been as well because you've worked hard to get to where you were. You had, like you said, you had 5.5k. For then to then lose that, it's like a big kick in the nads, if you want to call it like that. You're just like, what is the point essentially? So you were saying there that, right, okay, next time I'm gonna have to do it, differently as well. So was it straight away you were like, right, I'm gonna make a new channel? Because I'd imagine a lot of people who probably do what we do or what you do, and other people who were like, right, I'm gonna make YouTube videos. It was going well. Then let's say they get a copyright strike, three of them, they're out, and then they'll go, well, what's the point anymore? And then they'll quit and go off. So like for you, that wasn't the case. So was it immediately you were like, right, let's do this again, I want to do it? Or did it take you like a few days to like kind of get over it and go, right, or like, let's do this again? Just to obviously just bounce back from what was a very difficult time for your channel.
It probably took me a few hours, and then I was like, right, I think that night, because I kept myself busy watching football and stuff like that, I just thought, you know what, the old channel, with the amount of copyright strikes I was getting, it was inevitable that eventually I was going to get too many copyright strikes with the way I was doing my content, showing video and stuff like that. So I was like, you know what, let's start a new channel, but this time do it, absolutely right. And, anything that I could have done better with the old channel, let's do it better on this channel. But, yeah, I understand, it can be very motivation zapping for sure. Yeah. Like, for example, I've had a couple copyright, and you'll know this, a couple copyright strikes this year from this company. I'm not going to say the name of it. The F1 Word, who I know you had on the channel a few days ago. Yeah. He's had the same problem with the same company when it comes to watch-alongs and copyright strikes.
It was for was it for pre-season testing? I think was it, because I remember Sean, he got a lot of them for pre-season testing, and then he got some during the course of the season, and you did as well.
He got. I think the testing ones might have been FOM, but I think I know he got one in Bahrain, and it was that company that did it to him. I don't know if he got another one. I can't remember, but I know that obviously I've had two. One in Baku for the race watch along when we had, I can't remember how many we had watching live, but we had a lot. And then Hungary, we had the record amount of people watching live. We had about 2,400 people.
Wow.
Watching live, and it was going up. It was getting even better because at that time of the race, Hamilton was catching Verstappen at the end, and we were coming to that, ultimate crescendo of the race and the first half of the season. And it would have been so great if we didn't get that copyright strike, because we may have gone up to 3,000 watching live. Who knows? Yeah. When those things happen, and any YouTuber who's watching this will know, who's had it, you just feel like, what's the point? What is the point in putting in this effort, all this time, for it to be took away just instantly? And what made it worse was this company that did it to me in 2019, and kind of with the old channel as well. They'd copyright you, but then take it away so quickly that it was like, what was the point in you copywriting if you're just going to take it away so quickly, your claim or your strike? So it is very demotivational. It really does affect your motivation, but you just got to fight against it. That's what I'm doing. You just got to fight against it, because eventually, if you keep growing, keep pushing, you'll be too big for them to copyright you, because if they copyright you, then it looks bad on them.
Yeah.
When, if they copyright you now as a small channel, then if you quit, then they've won. So you can't do that. You've got to keep pushing, keep going, and then eventually, once you grow into a big channel, they won't copyright you because, again, it'll be seen as a bad thing PR-wise for that company or whoever it is.
So if you're starting a new YouTube channel, or if you're thinking about it, there's some really good advice from Chazza for you. Well said as well. Well said. Yeah, like it must like what is the point? I mean, we haven't had a strike as of yet, luckily, but we have had some claims. I remember one of the first claims that we got was when we first started out because we used to show like videos and stuff.
Yeah.
And we got one, and I'm just like, well, I didn't understand YouTube at the time, and I'm like, oh no, like this is we've been kicked off before we've even started. But that was probably when I kind of learned about the copyright strikes. So just that's like your story of YouTube. Moving away from that, let's talk about other things that away from Formula One. So like, do you follow any other sports? Just than Formula One?
Yeah, I follow football. Obviously when Formula One's not on,
Yeah.
I'm watching football. I am a fan of Chelsea.
Yeah, you're a fan of Chelsea.
I watch football as much as I can to keep myself, busy watching stuff. And I do like football a lot, but again, Formula One, it's the absolute number one. But I do follow football, but yeah, and when I can, when the weather is good and it's not winter, I do play football quite a bit as well. But at the moment, of course, it's the weather is getting worse and it's getting darker, so not great for that. I follow football quite a bit, and I try to watch as much as I can, but it is difficult when there's so much on.
Oh yeah. Do you play for a Sunday league team? Do you play like for a team, or is it just like a kickabout with your mates?
It's just a kickabout. When I was younger, before I turned 16, I used to play for teams, but I don't find the fun in playing for teams. It's just not the way I am. I don't want to turn up to be screamed at for 90 minutes. And I'd rather just kick about with my mates, have fun, and score goals, whatever. Just even if I'm not playing well, I just want to have fun. That's the idea for me of football, is having fun. I don't turn up to football thinking it's a job or dreading it. If you're dreading doing something you love, then you probably shouldn't be doing it. I think just doing a kickabout with my mates is probably the only kind of thing I do with football. I think at the moment I'm doing or about to start doing some six-a-side football, which is probably the most competitive I will go with football. But I'm never gonna go Sunday league or 11-a-side or anything like that.
It's very exhausting. I used to do it. I used to do it a few years ago. I was never any good. Hence why I'm here talking to you. But yeah, football as well. It's a sport that a lot of people, other people do follow. You said that you're a Chelsea fan. At time of recording, your next game is Newcastle, and that's my team. Funny enough, you're playing News. Do you think you'll win?
No disrespect, but I know you beat United, but let's be honest, Man United are absolutely terrible.
Anyone could beat United at the moment.
Well, not us on the first day. Can't believe we lost 4-0 to them away. It actually boggles my mind how they've been so bad this season, but we lost 4-0 to them. Hopefully, then we can repair that damage in the League Cup. I think at the end of this month we play them at home.
Yeah.
So hopefully we can batter them 4 or 5-0.
I think you should. Your young kids are doing very well, aren't they? Under Frank Lampard, they seem to get into a stride.
Yeah, well, as a Chelsea fan, I've been hoping and waiting for this probably since we finished 10th in 2015-16. That's a terrible season when Mourinho got sacked and all that.
Yeah.
I was hoping because we weren't in any Champions League football, we didn't have that much pressure on us. I thought, you know what, let's try and go the youth route because we've always had a good youth academy. We just haven't used it. I mean, if you look at our youth results for I think what's it called, the UEFA Youth Cup or something like that. We're always winning it or being in the semi-finals or finals. So we've got a great youth system, but we just never used it. But now, I think we have kind of got lucky, and it's kind of a blessing in disguise with a transfer ban. So we kind of have to use young players. But yeah, we've got great, talent, especially, in the forward lines. But for the Newcastle game, I think we will win.
I think we will.
Because I think we have enough. Our defence is still not good. I'm still very, very worried about our defence going forward. But I think our attack is enough to, put 2 or 3 past you. But if it's not, if it's like half time and it's 0-0, then I'll get worried because our defense is known for being a bit leaky.
What I will say though is just watch out for Matty Longstaff, because
yeah,
Sean from the F1 Word, he's a Man United supporter, and I was giving a bit of stick for it. I was just like, well, I wasn't giving him stick. I was just like, oh, so you're a United fan, are you? Oh, right. So I think expect a message from me if Matty Longstaff does end up scoring the winner again. I might put you two in a group chat and just constantly just bombard you with Matty Longstaff photos. But yeah, no, I think to be fair, you've got a much better team than us. I mean, you're saying your defence is weak, and if it's 0-0, you might be at half time. You will be worried, but we've got Joe Linton up front, who scored 1 goal this season. I think our top scorer is like Fabian Schär, who scored 2 or something like that. So that just tells you everything about our team. But apart from the 2 Longstaffs, I think there's no one in there that could really threat, if I'm honest, at the moment. But I think you should be okay. So how do you think you will do well under Frank Lampard? Do you think he's the right man at the moment?
At the moment, we have to give him time because,
absolutely,
again, transfer ban.
Yeah,
he can't be expected to do anything more than what he's doing at the moment or what he's going to do this season. We need to give him until the end of next season, so what, May 2021 or something like that.
Yeah.
We need to give him until then because he needs time to, build up these young players into a system where they feel comfortable and they get experience, but also there are definitely players he wants to buy, no doubt about it. Even though he loves promoting the youth, and he definitely is probably going to favour the youth players or youth academy more than experienced players. There are definitely positions where he can buy better. For example, centre back, where even though we've got Tamori, who is a great young centre back, we do need a couple centre backs to make us very shored up there at the back, because this is probably the first time since we won the league with Antonio Conte, where we just haven't got a good defence. So we've got to make sure that is right, because if we're going to contend for a league under Frank Lampard or even after Frank Lampard, we've got to make sure we've got a proper defence going forward for the next few years. But yeah, I think give him a couple years, and then we'll see where we are. Hopefully, at the end of this season, if we can finish in the top 4, that would be great. Because again, considering we got the transfer ban, that would just be an amazing achievement. And then further progression the season after, and I'll be happy, because again, it's a young team, and you can't expect too much from a young team. You've got to give them time. Yeah. Look at Spurs and look at Liverpool. They're teams that are, have just hit their peak about now. They've took time to develop. We've got to give these young players time to develop, because they might, if they all hit their absolute max potential, I'm telling you, that's a title-winning team in terms of the front line. Hudson-Odoi, Tammy Abraham, Mason Mount.
Yeah.
If they get to their absolute max potential, I think that's a title-winning front line. But again, defense needs to be sorted out.
Yeah, I think. Well, I did kind of wrote you off at the start of the season. I thought, well, Frank Lampard, all right, yeah, he's an all right manager, but 1 season in management, he's at Chelsea. I don't think he's gonna get top 4, top 6 perhaps. But after seeing your performances recently, I mean, it's still early days in the Premier League. I think we're only 8 games in still, but at time of recording, of course. But I am impressed with your team. I'm impressed with how good you guys are in attack as well. And definitely Lampard needs time, and that's something that Abramovich doesn't really give managers in this day and age. He just kind of comes in, wins the league 1 year, next minute gets off the next season to a rocky start, and then they're out the door. So who knows what is around the corner? But I hope he is there to stay for a long time. So like we've established, you're a Chelsea fan as well. So you like football away from F1. What shows, TV shows, do you watch? Are you watching anything on Netflix at the moment, or Amazon Prime, or anything else, or what are you watching at the moment when you're not doing YouTube or watching football?
I don't watch TV.
Do you not?
I will admit, I normal TV, I just don't care for it anymore like I used to. The thing I'll say I do away from my channel and watching football is play the F1 game and league racing.
I was just about to ask that as well, because I know you do put tweets out saying that you're in a league, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm in ILR 4 on Thursday nights, and currently I'm leading the championship, but I've been closed down by another very quick person. I'm only about 3 or 4 points clear, and we are going into the second half of the season. We've just gone past Silverstone, so yeah, gonna be a good second half of the season. Yeah, I've won a couple, league racing titles in a smaller league. I've won a historic F1 title league and a F1 2018 title.
Yeah. Oh wow.
I would consider myself good. I wouldn't sound great, but considering I am on a pad, I'm not on a wheel yet. I am going to get a wheel, though, probably around Christmas time once I save up enough money.
Yeah.
But I'd say, a good league racer, and I think once I get a wheel, if I can improve how I think I probably should and will, then I could probably become very good. But at the moment, I'd say a good league racer. And yeah, I do enjoy it. I will admit though, I am starting to enjoy it slightly less. Once you get really invigorated in the league racing community, you start to enjoy it less because there's lots of toxic people. Let's put it that way. In the league racing community, I think it's mostly because people in that community are very, very young, and yeah, it can be a bit bad at times, but it is getting a bit. Yeah, not as good, let's say, as it was, but I am still, enjoying it to a degree, and I'm hoping I can win the ILR 4 title at the end of the year, and I think it does end at the end of the year, like a week before Christmas. But yeah, that's what I do away from YouTube and watching football. I just, race on the F1 game, try to get better, league race plenty of times. And I just want to keep improving, and that's why I'm trying to race in as many leagues as possible, also to try and test myself against the best people. And it is working because I'm definitely improving still.
Oh well, all the best for the league. Hope you win it. So we aren't going to see you in any esports anytime soon, then? No.
Well, not with a pad. that's for sure.
Yeah.
I have tried to qualify with a pad like a couple of years ago, but when I get a wheel, who knows? I mean, I don't know the pace difference like I'll gain with a wheel. I think once I get fully set up and comfortable driving a wheel, I think then I might start pushing for that, but it's going to take some time to really get comfortable with, applying the throttle out of corners, differently to a pad and braking and just the whole, obviously on my pad, I don't have manual gears. I have auto gears because on a pad, it's quite difficult to, go up and down gears whilst accelerating or braking.
Yeah, I have tried that before. It is an absolute nightmare because I used to always think, well, I must try and brake and then brake myself and then use the gears because I'm like, if I don't do that, I'm not a proper F1 gamer. But it is very difficult. And I just went, I don't care anymore. I'm just gonna, But like the wheel, it is difficult. So, but I did try to get into that, but about like a week into it, like trying to understand the wheel, I'm just like, I don't like it anymore. I'm just gonna get rid of it. But so well. If you do end up getting used to the wheel and then still start, still into F1 gaming online and stuff and in the leagues, I could be talking to the 2026 F1 esports champion. So Brendan Lee, just watch out, mate. You've got a good competitor on your way, mate. So you've played the F1 games. Have you played all the F1 games from when they first started out when Codemasters first got them in 2010? And if so, which one would you say is your favourite F1 game out of even before that, even if you played F1 06 or whatever, which one would you say is your favourite F1 game of all time?
Well, my first F1 game was F1 2012. It was as I was getting to Formula 1, of course, as I said earlier, and my brother said, you know what, look, there's a F1, I think it was a demo for F1 2012, and I played it, and it was just you driving around Monza. And I loved it. I absolutely loved it. Got the game, and the rest is history on that front. But then got F1 2013. I didn't start league racing until F1 2016. I think I did a test session to get into a racing league in the F1 2016 game.
Uh-huh.
I did it in F1 2015 at the back end of that,
Yeah.
but yeah, it took me time to really become, I'd say, confident and good at the F1 game. And then, yeah, I'd say since F1 2017, that's when I really started becoming a good league racer and, winning races against people who are very, very quick. And then, yeah, F1 2018 is probably still my best F1 game. And I think F1 2018 is, for me, considering my pace on it and how my feeling on the game, I'd say F1 2018 is probably the best F1 game. I know people will say, oh, F1 2019... but I don't rate F1 2019 that highly. The servers are a bit better than they have been in the past, but the career mode is so unrealistic with the driver career moves, and it really makes it annoying because you can, let's say if you're new to the game and you get into career mode and you're struggling, you could end up in 3 or 4 different teams in a season, and I just don't see how that is realistic because in Formula 1, realistically, it's probably going to be, one team at most, or at least a season. So I just don't understand the whole, career moves thing. And I understand why people like it. And it should be there, but not, drivers moving, 3 or 4 drivers moving every 4 races. It's really annoying. But yeah, F1 2018 is my favorite game, in terms of, again, the feeling of the game, because my pace on it was very good. And I just love the feeling of the game compared to F1 2019. F1 2019 feels very easy compared to F1 2018.
Yeah.
And that's kind of why I don't enjoy it as much.
You missed a treat with F1 2010 and 2011. They were brilliant games.
Yeah.
I know the handling might not be as good or the graphics might not be, as advanced, but in terms of like nostalgia, it is. F1 2010 is a brilliant, brilliant game. But even in those days, you started off at the very bottom, like with Lotus, with Virgin, HRT.
Yeah.
And like now, like in F1 now, you can start with Mercedes if you wanted to, which I'm like, I don't have to start with Mercedes and all that. I just feel like it is easier to do that now, and like it doesn't feel like you're working hard enough to go to the top teams. Like I remember when on F1 2010, when I got my contract offer from McLaren, I thought it was the best day of my life, which just says everything about us at the time. I was like, oh my god, I've got an offer from McLaren and all that. But like now, if I did, I'm just like, oh, even Mercedes, it's like, yeah, right, okay, brilliant. Like I think career mode, it does need a lot of work to it, and I do like the whole driver switching. However, when you have like Verstappen and McLaren came right in a Red Bull, you kind of question how realistic is this game. And like, like you can swap teams halfway through the season, which I used to think was unrealistic when they first brought it in. But then as times went on, we've seen it a lot, haven't we, with drivers moving during the season. So I'm like, yeah, it can happen. But I do think, what thing would you add to career mode to improve it, in your opinion?
Well, with the career moves, I would make it, you can only have career moves during the off season, between the seasons, like between season 1 and season 2, or between, the rest of the seasons. I'm not sure what I would quite add. I don't think career mode is bad, but it just, there are things in it that need tweaking. I will say the interview thing, it's so repetitive.
Oh, no.
I hate it.
Yeah.
It's so repetitive. Just, if you're going to ask the same type of questions and, try and do the interviews less during a season so it doesn't become repetitive when you get asked literally the same thing every weekend. I will say, though, one thing I would, and I desperately want on an F1 game in the future, and if Codemasters or anyone who has any contact at Codemasters is listening to this, please, 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 bring back classic tracks. Ooh. And please, with the tracks we currently have, the older tracks, please, like Project Cars does, have an alternate, older version of them. So please, we have Hockenheim. Mm-hmm. Try and have the old Hockenheim. Ooh. Or stuff like that. The old Hockenheim on the F1 game would be absolutely mental, and it'd be so good. I'll have the old Monza, or have, like on F1 2013, you'll remember, we had Imola, we had Estoril. I loved Estoril on that game, and Brands Hatch, which obviously we could try and do under a minute, and we definitely do that in these current cars. But yeah, classic tracks and alternate versions of tracks, such as, again, Old Hockenheim, the Monza before the first two chicanes, like the late 90s Monza, or you could do the Monza where they are the Lesmos, which is flat out right-handers, basically. Suzuka, when 130R was a proper corner. The old Silverstone with bridged corner.
Yeah.
That'd be great. Oh, that would be great.
That would
to have that old Silverstone back from, like, what was it, 2007, 8 time?
I think it was 2009 was the last time they used that old circuit, and then they changed, instead of turning left, you turn right now up towards Village, I think it is. No.
Yeah, also, if anyone goes to Silverstone, you've got to go to that corner because it is still there, and you've got to go and see, because I made sure when I went to the 6 Hours of Silverstone in 2018 to get a little video of it, and you've got to go and just see that part of the corner, obviously, where it's no longer on the track anymore, because when you stand, like, as the bridge, as the, they come out of it, you can really get a sense of just how mental a corner it is, especially in an F1 car, when they were going through that flat out. In the V10 or V8 days, it is a great looking corner. So, if you do go to Silverstone, make sure to get a look at that. But please, classic tracks, alternate track layouts, please. If they're going to bring something to the F1 game, please be that. That would be my dream, honestly, for an F1 game.
I would love to see. I mean, I don't think you would have played this. I don't know if you've seen it, but you used to have like the little paddock area in F1 2010 and 2011, and you had you had interviews there, but you had David Croft doing it, which at the time no one really knew who David Croft was. But then, as the time went on, they just kind of like got rid of loads and loads of modes, and then even in 2015 they got rid of career mode, which was like which was like, what? Why? It was mad. A lot of people have been saying that they do want classic tracks back, which I'm surprised they haven't done it already, because they did add, was it F1 2017 that added the classic cars back? I think you had some McLarens, some Williams, Ferraris in, which is, I thought, brilliant. But I think having doing I remember doing a test with I think it was something like the MP4 I think it was on the I think it was F1 2018 when they brought that in. They driving that around Bahrain, it doesn't really feel realistic, if you know what I mean.
No,
it's like that wouldn't happen unless the McLaren. I mean, I know McLaren owners are Bahrainians. I know they're from there, but even still, that wouldn't happen. So I think definitely, I do agree with that. Definitely bring in some classic tracks, like old tracks that have like modern day Monza and then like old school Monza. And on a quick one as well, on the subject of when you were talking about going to Silverstone, going to see the old corners. If you ever go to Monza, please go up that banking. Do you know the old circuit? You can go there. It is incredible. If we did a vlog back in 2017 when we went to the Italian Grand Prix, and I think it's on the Sunday one at the very end. Is it Sunday? It's at the very end of one of the 3 days. I can't remember which one. And Lyle, who is actually at the top of it, he runs up it, runs down it. It's incredibly steep, and if you try and get the top and run back down, it's scary because you're thinking you're going to fall flat. You're going to fall flat on your face when you run back down it. But honestly, it is such an incredible area to be in if you ever go to Italy, like yourself, Chazza. If you ever go, highly recommend going on the old circuit.
Absolutely.
Oh yes. So time for some fan questions. Luckily we got some. I'm very pleased to say. This was part of the arrangements. I was going to be quite embarrassed if I was to go, right, okay, Chaz, fan questions. There is none. So moving on. So luckily we have got some. So the first one comes in from @Crystal Race, and he says, "Is Alex Albon a fraud?" I don't know what he means by that. He must be. Is there something between you two with that?
I know what he means. I think that comes kind of from when I did a video about Sebastian Vettel. We did a live podcast, I think, early this year, and I think I put, "Is Vettel an all-time great or a fraud?" I think I put that in the title.
Yeah. Can't
remember, so I think that's where it comes from. But also, I think that comes from my criticism of, Albon and Gasly during the season. And I will say, Suzuka, Albon was good. I mean, he literally set the same lap time as Max Verstappen. So
that's incredible.
If he could do that, then, that is exactly what Red Bull won.
Yes.
The weirdest thing though is Pierre Gasly. So
You've got
up
a you've
until
got you've got a
Hungary,
big opinion on Pierre Gasly, haven't you? You've been very vocal of him throughout the course of the season that you just
yeah,
know he shouldn't be in the Red Bull at all.
I didn't think he should have been the Red Bull before he got the seat, but I guess they had to put him in the car when.
Yeah.
Well, if they kept Daniel Kvyat around, then that probably would have worked out better. To give Gasly more time to show how good he is in the Toro Rosso, which he did show in Suzuka and Singapore, for example,
Yeah.
and Spa, I think, as well. But the weirdest thing with Gasly is, again, since he came out to Toro Rosso, he's been, and I think I said this in one of my videos, if he hadn't been to Red Bull, I'd be saying right now, get him in the Red Bull because of the way he's been driving.
Yeah.
But if you look at his Red Bull career, nothing went right. I mean, he had, one or two good races? I think Monaco and Silverstone. Silverstone was the only properly good weekend he had where he was actually competitive with his teammate and not getting lapped. But
Yeah.
I don't get. I think I kind of understand why. I think it's kind of because the Red Bull is built towards what Max Verstappen wants.
Yeah.
In a similar way to, if anyone remembers Michael Schumacher in the Benetton in '94, where he had teammates in Jos Verstappen and JJ Leto, who I think they even came out and said that Michael's Benetton was not the Benetton they were driving, and when Michael got disqualified for a couple races, they did not give Michael's Benetton to them. They had to keep their Benetton, which was basically a midfield car at best. I think that is not to that quite of a degree, but I think that's kind of why Gasly failed, because, again, it was built towards Max Verstappen. But, again, I said this in a couple of the videos I did about Gasly, and I'll kind of say this with Albon as well. If you're a good enough driver, you can overcome that. I mean, Daniel Ricciardo, for example, if you look at the last year or so of his Red Bull career, the Red Bull team were, as Ricciardo was getting to the end of his contract, Red Bull were building around Max Verstappen and building the car more so for Max Verstappen than Daniel Ricciardo, because Max Verstappen is, and at the time, of course, was the future Red Bull. So I just think a good enough driver can overcome that and still be competitive with a driver like Max Verstappen. All I've said with Gasly and Albon, and I'll say this to Kvyat or anyone who gets into that Red Bull alongside Max Verstappen, you don't have to beat Max Verstappen. If you're within quarter of a second or 0.3 of a second of Max Verstappen, for me that's enough, because let's be honest, Max is really quick. He is insanely quick in that Red Bull. So yeah, if you're within quarter of a second or 1/3 of a second, I'm not going to complain. But if you're, I mean, you saw Jordan, 0.8 of a second off and getting lapped.
Yeah.
That's not good enough. Even if the car, again, is built more towards the other driver, you cannot be losing that amount of time to your teammate. It's unacceptable. If you get lapped by your teammate on pure pace, I don't see how you deserve to stay in that car.
Yeah. Especially when Red Bull, well, they wanted Verstappen to obviously win the races as well. And we said this in, I think, our last episode we recorded at the time with Sean from the F1 Word. We were talking about obviously Verstappen challenging for the championship in 2020, and then Lyle brought a question about the other seat in Red Bull, how there seemed to be, like, 1 minute it's Kvyat, then it's Gasly, now it's Albon, and it's quite inconsistent from Red Bull. And he's like, well, do they not care about the other seat? And I'm like, well, yes, they do care about the other seat, and that's probably why they're changing all the time. I think to be fair, I think Daniel Kvyat was a bit unfair as to how he left the seat. I thought he did okay.
Yeah.
I keep saying to people, like, okay, he was demoted 4 races into the season. Why didn't they just demote him before the season? Why didn't they just go right out the door?
Yeah.
We want Max in. That was a bit strange, in my opinion. Really, they just want someone to kind of pick up the rest of the points so that they can do well in the constructors, which they haven't really challenged for. They've always been they've really been the 3rd fastest team, more or less, since 2014. I think 2016 did they finish 2nd that season?
Yeah.
They did well that one, but that was only because Ferrari was so poor that year. Red Bull, they are getting there, and they will get there eventually with Honda. I think that's if they stick with Honda beyond 2020 for 2021, which I think they will. But this is F1. Who knows? I think they have got. To be fair, they have got a future in Albon. I think he is doing okay. But like he's only been there for 5 races, so like you can't really. I don't want to judge anything just yet. But at the moment, he's doing enough to get a seat for next season. But that's probably when the pressure will be on. And can you handle the pressure? We'll have to wait and see. Because if he doesn't, what's going to happen? Is Gasly going to come back in for the rest of the season? We'll have to just wait and see, won't we? Red Bull, it's a very confusing team. So the next one comes from Mike from F1 Fanatics, another person who does YouTube and everything. Big fan of big fan of the show. He's also a fan of your channel as well, Chazza. He says, "Who is your favourite F1 driver of all time and why?" I think you're not going to say Pierre Gasly. I know that.
or Lance Stroll or anyone like that.
Or Nico Hulkenberg, because I've seen you did a video recently about Nico Hulkenberg, how he was quite overrated, I think it was, and not a lot of people liked that, did they?
Well, I'll just share my opinion, but obviously,
people don't like opinion in the F1 community.
Yeah,
that's
that's a naughty word, opinion. My favourite driver, I'm not sure, to be honest, because sometimes I get my favourite driver kind of confused with my all-time best driver of all time. But I'd say my favourite driver of all time is probably Michael Schumacher, because of just how his career was and how he built up Ferrari. I think that's one of the most inspirational things I've seen in motorsport, and just how he built Ferrari from being a joke into a title contending outfit and then into a dominant team. Mm-hmm. He basically put Ferrari back on the international stage in terms of success, because before then Ferrari were kind of like Manchester United are now in football. Back in the early to mid 90s, Ferrari were a team that used to be great but now are struggling and have been struggling. Mm-hmm. And I guess Ferrari, you could say, are kind of going through that now, but they're nowhere near as bad now as they were in 1992 or 93, where they could barely get a podium. I'd say Michael Schumacher, because again, the way he built Ferrari up and turned them into the machine that they became, and just the way he drove his cars. He drove 100% every single corner, and that just, for me, is incredible how he was able to do that. And if you go back and watch races in the refueling days, how he was able to push so incredibly hard every lap is why he was so dominant in that era. Mm-hmm. Because in the refueling days, you had to push and get the most out of your fuel load, and he would, not just every lap, every corner. And he was so hard to beat during those days, because when he had to put in the laps, I mean, beating him was near impossible when he had, say, a bit more fuel than you, because he would just completely annihilate you once he had a bit more, lower fuel. And just the way he pushed and the way he was, I think Michael Schumacher for sure, my favourite driver. And he is still an inspiration in terms of the way he, again, built Ferrari up.
Absolutely. It's a brilliant story. And you could also, in a way, you could say that he kind of helped Mercedes get to where they are today. Because,
in a way.
It wasn't fully Michael, but certainly he would have been like a big influence to push Mercedes on to where they are now, and then Hamilton's kind of taken over the reins, if you like, and almost, well, not as big as what Schumacher did for Ferrari, but like having Hamilton there, it's almost like a similar kind of story, if you like. But not everyone will agree with that. They'll just say, "Oh, it's all Mercedes and Hamilton's just a waste of space." So we've got 2 questions here from our next guy. Our kids love F1. He says, "What are your goals for your channel?" And the other question is, advice on getting to 1,000 subscribers.
When it comes to advice for 1,000 subscribers, how many subs is he on? Is he on like 100 or 200? I think I've seen his channel before.
I think at time he's on 141 or something like that. I think it was when I checked his last video out.
Okay. To get to 1,000 subs, what you need to do is in your first beginnings on this website is find what works in terms of views, and then keep doing that until that eventually dries up, and then you have to go to something new that will, work for you. But, if you keep doing the same thing over and over again and it's not working, then, definition of insanity, isn't it?
Yeah.
But, just find what works for you in terms of views. I think I've seen one of his videos, Rise and Fall, Jacques Villeneuve, I think was one of them.
Yeah.
And it's that, I think that's his highest viewed, or one of his highest viewed videos. If you keep doing that type of videos, then, and if they keep doing well views-wise compared to the amount of subs you have, then your channel will grow. But yeah, just, find what is best for your channel. And, it's different for all channels, Plenty of us will try out things that maybe have been tried in the past and it just won't work for us in the same way it worked for others. So you just got to find what works for you and stick to that. And again, until eventually it's not doing enough for you anymore. So yeah, stick to that, and you should be growing definitely towards 1,000 subs, and hopefully you do get there, mate. And what was the other one? What are your goals for the channel, I believe?
What are your goals for your channel? That's the other question.
So 10,000 subs at the end of 2019. Hopefully I can get that. I am 1,700-ish away. And we've only got 2.5 months to go. So hopefully I can get there. If anyone new is watching, then don't forget to subscribe and help out the channel getting towards that target.
Yeah. Please do.
And yeah, then after that, I'd say this is the thing with YouTube. I'm not trying to go for like big sub numbers in 2020, 2021. As long as I grow at a steady rate, I think that'd be good enough. Because I think if I grew really big, of course it would be great, but I think sometimes it's actually worse for content creators to grow really big at once, because you don't have that sense of struggle, or you don't have to you know what I mean? You haven't had that hard work over many years to get to a great level. If you grow just really, really big overnight and then it starts slowing down, it can kind of, for your mental state, be a bit worse, because then you're expecting, big, massive numbers instead of a steady rate of growth. But, I don't know, 30k in 2020 and then 50, 100, you know what I mean? Just a slow, steady growth. I'm not trying to, I don't want to be at 100k. I mean, of course, I'd love to be at 100k by the end of 2020, but
that'd be incredible.
Realistically, just a steady growth, and then hopefully in 3 or 4 years' time, I can be at 100k, and then continue growing and grow my community within the Formula One community.
Certainly, I think like the F1 community, it's not like a trending kind. Well, especially YouTubers as well. Like yourself, Dan from F1 reviews, Sean from the F1 Word, and of course like people like Kids Love F1 and F1 Fanatics. Like, it's not like an overnight success, if you know what I mean, like compared to other people who are well known in the YouTube world. I'm not going to name any because I don't really follow YouTube that closely, but some like really, really well known ones. Like, it's always been a gradual rise. I think really the closest person I can think of who's went from 0 to 100 mile an hour in like 30 seconds is probably Aldas. He went from like 0 to 10,000 subscribers in 10 months, which is like rapid, absolutely rapid. And no one really has that. I don't know what the gamers like Arava, Ben Daly, and Tim Marduk and all them. I don't know how they progressed up, because I didn't really follow them when they started out. But when I'm watching other people like yourself, Chazza, and like Sean and everyone, like, it's just gradual. It's not like one day they're on 50k, the next is 60, the next is 70, and I think that's good for F1. Like, but there is still more out there, for fan wise, because like if you look at like the highest, I think it's WTF1. They're on like I know they rose quite quickly, but they were quite popular before YouTube. But like I think they're nearly on 500k, which is like, YouTuber wise is probably the biggest, but the official F1 website is on 2 million. So there is more people out there, isn't there? But
yeah, definitely.
I do like how like it does gradually grow slowly. So you kind of answered my next question here. I would like to almost like cap off. Where do you see yourself in your channel in 5 to 10 years time, or where do you want to? In fact, no, I'm gonna change the question now. Where do you want to be with your channel? Do you want it to be a full-time thing for you, where like you know, you are collaborating with not just people like myself, like, you know, just like a guy who can't hit 1,000 subscribers to save his life, but like F1 drivers or even F2 drivers doing interviews and stuff. Like, do you want that kind of level, or are you just happy just with what you're doing now?
No, I want to get to that level. There is, I guess, kind of a dream that I do want to, obviously because I live in the UK, I do want to go to all the European races and try and make that a regular thing in a few years to come, where I can afford to go to the races and cover it in a proper way. Kind of like, you know, football fan channels do, where they go to the ground and they, you know, they stand outside the ground and they're there. I kind of want to do that with Formula One. Not necessarily interviewing fans and stuff, but just be at the Grand Prix and, you know, giving my thoughts on the day and stuff like that. So that is a dream. And in terms of the channel growth, I'd say 100k is probably, if I hit 100k, anything after that, you know, I don't really mind what happens after that, because that would just be a dream come true, you know, getting that plaque and stuff like that. It would just be an amazing thing. So I think in terms of the channel, 100k, if I got that, I don't know what I would do. But in terms of what I want to do with the channel, yeah, kind of go to the physical races, which I will try to do a bit of that and kind of transition slowly into that. Hopefully starting with testing in 2020. We're hoping to be a bit more, you know, reporting from testing. We were going to try and do that for testing this year, but we didn't. Our equipment wasn't quite favourable to us on that particular occasion. But hopefully we can try and do a bit of reporting from testing and you know, bring you guys, you know, what's going on, stuff like that. But yeah, I kind of want to go that route with it and just be at the races and really feel the, you know, the atmosphere of a Grand Prix weekend.
Certainly ambitious. I think you can certainly do it as well, in my opinion as well. Like, I do hope your channel does get to, you know, a point where like you know, you are satisfied with it, where, you know, where you can, you know, maybe live off it or do it as a career as well. Because I think, you know, that is the goal for more or less everyone who's obviously doing what we do as well. I mean, for me personally, that would be a dream for me as well. So final question is, I'll be asking this to everyone that we interview in this series. So I want you to name your all-time F1 team. So like, I want 2 drivers in a car and the team boss. Who would you have?
The car, it's got to be the Ferrari F2004. That car is beautiful in every sense of the word. Team boss, Ron Dennis, because Ron, even though he's very forthright, I think he does love a bit of drama, does Ron, for sure. If you look at his career, it's a bit dramatic. I think he does love a bit of drama and a bit of controversy, does Ron. Yeah. For the drivers, I'm not going to go for, you know, Schumacher and Senna, because that'd be a bit too obvious. But I'm going to go for a driver lineup that it would be feisty for sure. I'm going to go for Michael Schumacher, but I am going to go alongside in a driver partnership that in that car with that team boss would be gold. Juan Pablo Montoya.
Oh, good choice.
Those two, and if you watched Formula One back then or seen the clips of them racing, basically those two were just trying to crash each other off every time they, you know, went wheel to wheel. Those two as teammates, oh, that would be brilliant.
Their rivalry was huge back in the day, wasn't it?
Yeah, Montoya, every time he got a look at Michael Schumacher in the braking zone, he just went for it. He didn't think, maybe no, I'll stick, no, he just went for it. Like, for example, that, what was it, Brazil, where he just launched it after a safety car. And then also, one clip, if you want to really look at what summed up that rivalry, the start of the Italian Grand Prix in 2003, where Montoya tries to go at the second chicane right round the outside of Michael Schumacher, teams around the outside, Michael has none of it, and then on the exit, they're basically just trying to drive into each other. It's such a great sight, and it just sums up that rivalry, and I'd love to see that in that car, which was also at the same time, wasn't it, the F2004, when that rivalry was at its peak. So, yeah, that'd be great. Schumacher and Montoya, who wouldn't love to see that?
Oh, I mean, I didn't live through that kind of rivalry, but I'm sure, you know, for fans who did and are listening, I'm pretty sure they would be excited with that lineup. I mean, the F2004 and Schumacher, hand in hand was a match made in heaven. I think if putting Montoya in that car, I think that would be even better, probably better than a Barrichello. No disrespect to Barrichello in any way, but certainly Montoya was probably a better driver, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Even probably today in this day and age. What about a team name? What would your team name be?
Does it have to be a current team?
No, it just be any team you like, any name you want. It doesn't have to be an F1 team. It can just be whatever you want.
I wouldn't go for any old name. I'd have to pick an old team name, to be honest.
Right.
Just because this team was just... I don't understand how this team was even a Formula 1 team. And Martin Brundle drove for them. And I'd love to hear his stories about them. Zaxbyed.
Zaxbyed.
If you research Zaxbyed, they were an F1 team, I think, for 2 years. Martin Brundle drove from in 1987, and
I've actually never heard of them. So there you go.
Yeah, they were. I don't know if they went out of business in Formula 1 after 1987, but I'm just going to go for Zaxbyed because it sounds funny.
That's one thing I'm going to do after this. I'm going to Google Zaxbyed because I've never heard of them before. But yeah, see, even I'm learning something through this. But anyway, Chazza, that is the end of the interview. Thank you so much for taking part and doing this as well. Guys, I hope you have enjoyed the video as well. It's similar to like Beyond the Grid. It's like taking inspiration from that, talking to other people as well about their kind of stories as well. We spoke about Formula 1, but kind of learning more about Chazza, but we kind of stayed on the topic of Formula 1 throughout the course, a little bit of football, but I think that just proves how passionate you are about Formula 1 as well. Like, it is pretty much your life, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And I just want to say before we go, at the time of recording this, you are very, very close to 1,000 subs. And I just want to say right now, subscribe to the F1 Debate Show. We've got to get this channel to 1,000 subs. They deserve it.
I'm trying.
And we're so close to 1,000 subs. Please keep subscribing. We're going to get there soon. Hopefully, we can get there either before Mexico or during that weekend. Hopefully, by the end of this month, we can get there. But yeah, please subscribe to this channel. They deserve 1,000 subs for all the hard work they put in.
Thank you.
And yeah, I really want to see this, this channel doing well. So yeah, please subscribe. They really do deserve it. And yeah, keep supporting the channel. They are both Jordan and Lyle. They're both very, knowledgeable, great guys when it comes to talking about Formula 1.
Yes, well, we do try. I do try. I do try and know me stuff, do my research as much as I can. But like, it feels like I'm just repeating myself. Like, oh guys, we are nearly on 1,000 subscribers. I'm like, oh man, we've been so close. We're within touching distance. Like, yeah, I think if hitting 1,000 subscribers would be something really for us. I know for a lot of people it's like, well, it's nothing, but for me it's like, it'll be massive, absolutely massive. But like I said before, if you haven't already, go and check out Chaz's channel as well. Get him to 10,000 subscribers. He wants that. And stick around for his content as well. His watch-alongs as well in qualifying in the race. His technical videos as well, and his debatable videos as well. He did one recently about the Verstappen Leclerc incident in Japan. Go and watch that one as well, and his other ones that he's released since we recorded this. But Chazza, thank you so much for joining us as well. Like I said, his links will be in the description below, and if you're new around here, then please subscribe as well, and hopefully we'll see you in the next episode as well. Leave your opinions in the comment section below, whether you like this video, and if you do want to see other interviews from other people, let us know who you'd like to hear from, and we'll try our best to get them on the show. It might be difficult, but all I can say is no. That's the worst I can do. But anyways, guys, thank you so much for listening, and until next time, I'll see you later.